Hello, all. I'm Robert Knowles,
And I'm Richard Simpson.
and today we're going to take a look at the final battle for the Pimple.
Chased by Canadians from the Saskatoon Daily Star, Saskatoon, Saskatchewan, Canada, 14 April 1917. The full fruits of the Battle of Vimy are ours tonight. The Germans are in full retreat, and the Canadians, advancing as rapidly as the mined and wrecked roads permit, are hard upon their heels. Givenchy, Petit Vimy, Vimy itself, Farbus, and Ver-le-Roi are ours. Lens is on fire, together with the adjacent villages, and it is believed that they will be evacuated before morning. All morning, our artillery has been dropping shells on German lines, especially the village of Vimy, and the response was feeble and spasmodic. This afternoon, there are a series of violent explosions in the mining villages in the Lens-le-Vin sector, where heavy charges are being used to destroy the shafts and overhead structures of the mines. The sound waked the whole front of our into life. Our infantry pushed down into Vimy and Givenchy, where they came in touch with the enemy's rear guard. At this hour, they continue to go forward, meeting little resistance. The spoils will be great, and the advantages resulting from the possession of the Lens-le-Vin mining district tremendous.
On the 9th of April, the 4th Canadian Corps struggled to take their objectives. And throughout the 9th, 10th, and 11th, they had a seesaw, hard-fought battle with the Germans for their objectives, and later to be the Pimple and Hill 145. Finally, on April the 12th, after being brought with more reinforcements from the other Canadian divisions, after them completing their objectives, at 5 a.m. on the 12th of April, another attack was launched at the Pimple, and by 6 p.m. at night, the Canadians had finally driven the Germans from the Pimple, and Vimy was theirs.
Vimy Ridge now in the hands of the Canadians. From the Albuquerque Morning Journal, Albuquerque, New Mexico, 14 April 1917. Footing is gained in trenches southeast of Lens, is report from headquarters in France. On a 12-mile front northeast of Arras, on a 9-mile front northwest of San Quentin, the forces of Field Marshal Haig have shattered the German defenses and have forced the Germans to retire. North and east of the Vimy Ridge in the Arras region, the British seized 6 villages from the Germans during a successful move forward from the Scarpe northward to near Luce. London says a footing has also been gained in the German trenches northeast of Luce, a mining and railroad center. Vimy, Petit Vimy, Givenchy-en-Goële, and Angers, all north of the Vimy Ridge, and the village of Villeval and Bailleul, east of the ridge, were taken in advance. All these villages are on the slopes of the ridge.
As I said before, as of nightfall on April the 12th, 1917, the Canadian Corps had finally taken Vimy. In 4 days of battle, the Canadian Corps suffered 10,502 casualties. Of those 10,000, 3,598 were killed and 7,004 were wounded. The Germans suffered an unknown number of casualties during that 4 days of fighting, but it is approximated that 4,000 men became prisoners of war. And I think that's something that often gets missed when we look at these battles and we see who won and who lost. We forget just how much blood was shed. For 4 days of fighting, 10,602 casualties, either wounded or dead. By our standards of modern warfare, that would be insane. Absolute insanity. We couldn't fathom death counts like that, or even wounded counts like that in the modern vernacular. It just doesn't happen. And that's why the First World War was so bloody, because it was just a meat grinder. Every little inch of ground was fought with literally thousands of lives. So I just wanted to point that out. I also wanted to point out that the Germans, to save face when they reported on Vimy, I always find this kind of funny. They called it a draw because the Canadians didn't go any further. The Canadians got their objective, which was Vimy Ridge, but because they didn't go further, the Germans classified it as a draw. And I think that's more just, whatever you got to tell yourself to sleep at night.
Britain congratulates Canadians for Vimy Ridge. From the Boston Globe, Boston, Massachusetts, 13 April 1917. Ottawa, April 12th. Official congratulations to the Canada upon the storming of Vimy Ridge were received today by the Duke of Devonshire, the Governor General, from Walter Hume Long, Secretary of State for the Colonies. Quote, "May I offer to the government and people of Canada," unquote, Mr. Long said, quote, "my heartfelt congratulations on the feat of Canadian troops in the capture of Vimy Ridge. It is a glorious and memorable exploit, which adds fresh laurels to Canadian arms," unquote. In acknowledgement, the Duke of Devonshire cabled, quote, "We are all proud of the splendid achievement and hope that the result will have material effect on the progress of the war," unquote.
The Canadians fought and died, and that's why the picture that has been up on the monitor for this video is the monument that sits in Vimy, France, to this day, saluting the Canadians who gave their lives for that little piece of ground back in 1917. I hope that you all enjoyed our little look at a very important part of Canada's history. I've been Robert Knowles.
And I am Richard Simpson. Join us next week when we start the first U.S. major battle in World War I, the Second Battle of the Somme. And thank you and good night.
Richard and I would like to thank you for watching. If you liked what you saw, please like, share, and subscribe. And until another point in history, good night, folks.